Hi. It is Tuesday morning. Um, I just woke up, had a coffee, and I just wanted to come on and just talk about life. Um, I think there is a lot of things that we don't allow ourselves to feel. We don't allow ourselves to feel our feelings when they arise. We push them down. We shove them aside in hopes that they go away. But do those feelings really ever go away? No. What happens is they get stored in the body. And when feelings are stored in the body, they present themselves as behaviors. So if you store your sadness and your anger, your resentment, if you store all of those feelings within and you never express them and you never confront them, you create dis-ease inside of your body. And that dis-ease then brings on disease. That's what dis-ease is within the body. It is a disruption to your cells. And the disruption is easily caused by stored emotion. Excuse my stuffy nose every morning. Winter is dry. um, but that dis-ease in the body, that imbalance, creates illness. We store our emotions as things like autoimmune disease. We store it as sometimes that lingering cold that won't go away. It's a disruption inside the body that we don't necessarily know the origin of. Sometimes we wonder why we're sick. Maybe you had nausea for months. But if you think into your mental person, into your emotional person, what is it that is causing the nausea? Is it information that you have not shared? Is it emotion that you have not released? Because most of the time it's one of those two things. Sometimes we harbor information that is meant to be expressed. And a lot of times it's because that information is difficult to express. But when we express the emotions and we express the information that's eating at us, we release it. When you cry, you're not weak. You're crying to release the emotion. When you yell, you're not weak. You are yelling because you're releasing the anger. All it is a release. And we need those releases to clear the body of stagnant emotions, stagnant information. Everyone looks at an emotional person as a sensitive person, which they are, but people view it as too sensitive when you have big feelings. And really, you're just connected to your emotional person. Being connected to your emotional person is how we heal. Because if you're not connected to your emotions, how can you face them? If something arises that upsets you and you ignore it, does it go away? No. It still bothers you. And you will think about it for years and years and years until you face the emotions behind it. Because it's in understanding your emotions that you understand yourself. When you understand why you're sad and why you're angry and why things easily upset you, you can find your healing. Because in those reasons, you find release and you find clarity. And when you find release and clarity, you free your mind. I think I'm going to breathe for a minute if you want to breathe with me. All your emotions are a disruption to your peace. And happiness can be a disruption. It's an exciting, good disruption. But it's still a disruption to your peace. Because your peace is that neutral feeling that you have when you feel nothing. The neutral feeling you have when you are just at ease with life. And we find that feeling in small moments oftentimes. And we don't live our peace. We tend to just chase it. We chase moments that give us that feeling, when instead we could face our other emotions, our anger, our sadness, our fear. We face that, and it brings your peace back to you. Because when you release emotions, you acknowledge them. You don't give them authority over you. You allow them to be, and then you allow them to pass. When we are happy, we have no problem allowing that emotion to come and go. Because it feels good. It feels nice to be happy. And we run from the other emotions because they don't feel good. But it's in those emotions that you grow. Because in those emotions, you're learning something. You're learning what puts dis-ease into your body. And when you learn what disrupts your peace, you learn what puts dis-ease into your body, you learn not how to avoid it, but how to cope, how to get through the hard emotions. Because they're going to come and go. That's life. Life has ups and downs. And sometimes it feels like we have a lot more downs than ups. But it's just because you're not looking for your ups. You're not looking for that happiness. And maybe you are. Maybe you are looking for it, but you're not facing the emotions that you have. You're not allowing them to come and go easily so that you can make room for better feeling. A lot of us get stuck in cycles of anguish and fear and anger and sadness. We get trapped in the cycle. And when we're trapped in the cycle, we can't see anything else because it's all we know. A cycle goes around and around and around. It's like a circle. And you want to break that circle. Recognize when you're sitting in the dark. Recognize when you're feeling more emotional than usual. And it's not wrong. It's not bad. You can feel whatever you need to feel. Because what you need to feel is what's going to heal you. You need to face all of the emotions that you have about life in order to sort them out. And when you sort them, you categorize what's important, what hurts, what feels good. You create files within your head, a mental filing cabinet that holds memory of all of those emotions. And when you face the emotions, you teach yourself how to confront them and how to move past them. And in that filing cabinet stores the memory of how to move on. And when you move on, you grow. You move forward. You push past the hard emotions and you move forward. And we do this every day, sometimes without even thinking about it. Your child spilled a glass of milk and your initial reaction is irritation and anger because now you have to clean it up. And maybe the first time it happened, you yelled and you couldn't believe that it happened. And the next time it happened, you learned. Do you yell and harm your child? Put your emotion on them? Or do you take a step back, take a breath, and say, it's okay. Let's clean it up together. Because when you can do that, it means that you learned. You learned that the anger was not going to solve the problem. And you can still be angry. You can be irritated. But you have to move past it and see the lesson. And sometimes the lesson is just teaching you how to react. If you always react out of a place of anger or fear, you need to teach yourself to react out of a place of love. And once you get out of that cycle of bad emotions, when you break the cycle, you start to notice the good feelings more because you're not fixated on what feels bad. You're no longer fixated on every downfall of life. You find the happy moments. I know from personal experience that when you exist in anger, all you consume is negativity. The world looks bleak to an angry person. The world looks dark, even when there's light. And it's not bad to exist in that cycle. It's not wrong. Some of us live there because of trauma. Some of us live there because it's safe. It's safer to protect ourselves with our anger and we let our fear guide us because it feels strong. But your fear is not your strength. Your anger is not your strength. It is powerful, but it is not your strength. And it has its uses. You use that power when you need it, when it's truly fitting for the moment. And you need to teach yourself when it's fitting, but you can't do that if you don't feel your emotions. Because once you start feeling them, you start to notice if they're too big or too small for emotions, for situations. You start to notice that you blew up about something small. You start to notice that you cried over something that shouldn't have bothered you. And then you dig deeper. Why did it bother you? And once you find the why, you can release it. You can face the emotion. You can face the reason behind it. And then you can let go. And once you let go, you're free. You're free of that emotion. It no longer has a hold on you. And once you realize why you're triggered, the next time it happens, you won't be as triggered because you know why you're triggered. And that's behind everything. You need to know the why. Dig deeper. Because your whys are going to heal you. They're going to set you free. Emotional people get a bad rep. We get called sensitive. We get called too much. We get told that we need to toughen up. But we don't. People who feel deeply are people who are on the right track. If you feel nothing, where are you going? If you walk through life blind, ignoring all of your feelings, what happens to them? They live inside the body. And when they live inside the body, they create disease. They create illness. They create cancer even. And I'm not trying to scare you. Your emotional person is not going to give you cancer. But a disruption to the cells is cancer. And every time you ignore your emotions, you're disrupting your cells. You're making them unstable. Because you as a person are unstable. You might feel strong and powerful because you hold on to your anger. But when you look at it, are you really strong and powerful? Or are you just ignoring everything about life? We can't ignore our emotions. Excuse me. Because when we ignore our emotions, we ignore ourselves. You don't ignore your crying child. Why ignore yourself when you cry? You don't ignore your child when he needs a hug. So why do you ignore yourself when you need one? You don't ignore your child when they're angry. You teach them how to calm down and how to approach the situation differently. So why, when you're angry, you just sit in it? Why do you hold on to it? Why don't you release it? You don't let your child cry over that spilled glass of milk because you have learned through life that it's not a big deal and it's not worth your tears. So why, when you spill the milk, do you cry? Ask yourself these questions. When big emotions arise, ask yourself why. Don't just sit in it. You can sit in it a little, but don't just stay there. Grow from it. Let it teach you something. And sometimes we can't see the why. Sometimes we don't know why things upset us. I am a person who cries about everything. I cry very easily. I cry when I'm frustrated. I cry when I am stressed. I cry very easily. And I know why. Because I have always shoved those emotions down. I have always felt weak for crying. I have always felt stupid for crying. And even angry sometimes. Why am I crying? But I know that it's an imbalance within my emotional person. And it stems from being unheard. It stems from being unseen. It stems from emotional neglect sometimes. And not purposeful neglect. Like being a teenager, when I would lock myself in my room and just cry for hours. No one knew that I was crying. No one knew what I was doing because I didn't tell them. I kept it. I held on to it. I didn't ask for help. And it ate at me for years. Because I never released the emotion. I never talked about it. I never expressed how I truly felt. I kept everything to myself. And it's not good to keep everything to yourself. Even if you cry in a quiet room, you're still releasing. But when someone asks about it, someone notices that you've been crying, Don't just tell them, oh, it's nothing, I'm fine. Tell them why. You can face it. Because when you face it, you release it. You speak about it, you release it. And don't just talk about it to anybody. Talk about it to someone who supports you, who loves you. Or if it feels easier, talk about it with a stranger, I guess. Sometimes it is easier to admit your feelings to a stranger. Maybe you're at the grocery store checking out and the woman asks how you are. Tell her. Don't just say I'm fine. Say I'm having a rough day. Or last night was rough, but I am getting better. Admit it. Admit that you have downfalls. Admit that you're struggling. Because when you do, you acknowledge your emotions. And that's all they want. They just want to be acknowledged. They just want to be seen. Just like you. All they want is to be seen and felt and expressed. Don't let your emotional person suffer just because you're afraid or whatever feeling it is that's holding you back. Don't run from your emotions. Face them head on. Figure out why they arise. Release them, and you will grow.